I'm going to really encourage you in this video, if you have an autoimmune related condition, to pause, to rethink about the condition, rethink about that diagnosis. I know how scary it is. You don't have to fire your doctor. You don't have to stop taking a medication or anything of that nature. But until you understand this, it will be really hard, if not impossible, to overcome the autoimmune disease of all types. Now, I can speak to this in personal experience. I had a father who had an autoimmune related condition. It was so rare that there was 250 people ever that had been diagnosed with it. It was a severe inflammatory condition where way too much inflammation was being created in the body, called Cogan's syndrome. It attacks the joints. It attacks the sensory organs. So for my father, it knocked out his hearing. He went completely deaf because of this condition. It started to attack his eyes, so he had to get steroid injections into his eyes, let alone his joints, his knees, created system-wide vasculitis where it was inflaming all of his blood vessels. I'm going to show you exactly why that extremely rare condition, what exactly caused it, and why it's causing your autoimmune condition. 50 million Americans deal with this. My mom was on the Hashimoto's side of things with thyroid problems, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's being the number one cause of that this pertains to, let alone all the digestive tract issues that are involved with autoimmune related conditions, celiac conditions, IBS, ulcerative colitis. They all stem back to one primary problem. As soon as I understood this, which I'm going to share with you in this video right now, we were able to heal my dad, get him off all of his 15 medications. He was no longer seeing the rheumatologist to treat the autoimmune condition. He was experiencing real health. I want you to have that same kind of breakthrough. It doesn't mean get rid of them. I certainly don't mean stop taking your medications or anything that way. But if all we're doing is treating autoimmune disease, what's the best you can ever do? More autoimmune disease. Just try to control it. Hopefully don't get worse. I got stuck in that rut for 2 years. And if that's you, this video is going to help for you. So what is happening inside of the body when an autoimmune condition is happening is this. The digestive tract is taking in lots of different things on a daily basis. Some of them great nutrients, some of them things we don't need, right? The digestive system barrier, which is this black line right here, has to determine as these things are coming into the body, is this something I should be absorbing, or is this something that we need to keep out and get rid of and get excreted, right? That's what our digestive system does. It's called the second brain for a reason, because it has to decipher millions of molecules of nutrients and energy and chemicals and vitamins. And it's got to decide what's going to get in to the bloodstream. So this is the bloodstream right here, okay? Our blood is flowing through here. This is going to carry those nutrients to the areas of the body that it needs, to cells, to the liver, to your brain, to help it to function. Now, these things come in that are nutrients, but let's focus on the things that come in that are not nutrients, like medications. We come in contact, and some of you, especially with an autoimmune condition, are taking those. Antibiotics, aspirins, NSAIDs. These are some of the worst medications for the gut, and they actually inhibit this entire process. Microbes, candida overgrowth, major cause of autoimmune-related conditions. Viruses can set you into an autoimmune-related condition. Before my dad had his Cogan syndrome, he had a form of a virus that caused massive inflammation in his body. Toxins in general, pesticides, gluten, but more so the pesticides and herbicides that are put onto the product, onto the grain, that are also causing major issues outside of just the gluten molecule itself. And then sugars and carbohydrates. That's my lollipop, in case you were wondering what that is. I just had to come up with something that dictated over consuming too much of the wrong foods. So our digestive system is trying to deal with all this and is trying to let it in. What happens though is there's a breakdown, especially for the glyphosate that is in those gluten and grains, especially the NSAIDs and the antibiotics. What it does is it starts attacking these little barriers, this little army right here, and it starts creating holes in this little army that is designed to protect. And then what happens is this barrier gets a little bit less protected, gets a little bit skinnier, gets a little bit thinner, it gets more permeable. Now, why that matters is this creates a leakiness where the things that are not supposed to get into your bloodstream floating around your system do. Now, you end up having viruses inside your bloodstream. Sound familiar? Hashimoto's, Epstein-Barr, Lyme's, microbes, bacteria inside your bloodstream. Creates a lot of inflammation for people that suffer with those. Then the NSAIDs, you get chemicals inside of your bloodstream. The antibiotics start to destroy the gut lining. And then you have an overgrowth of the bad bacteria happening in your gut, and you have an undergrowth of the good bacteria, and now you've got chemicals from the NSAIDs, chemicals from the antacids that are floating in your system, and that's what destroys kidneys, and that's what sets people into different autoimmune-related conditions. Then the toxins such as glyphosate start breaking down this permeability. So inside of your blood, you have floating around toxins, pesticides, heavy metals that should not be in your system. Imagine the amount of inflammation those things are causing inside of your blood. And then finally, carbohydrates and the absorption of proper nutrients gets blocked and the toxic nutrients get in. So this condition right here creates inside of the blood a concoction of chemicals and anti-nutrients that all are inflammatory. They create inflammation inside of the body. Now, these can settle in different organs or it can be systemic like my dad. For example, the viruses oftentimes will settle in the thyroid, which creates the assumption of a thyroid problem. However, it's just the inflammation attacking the virus that sits on the thyroid, which creates the Hashimoto's. The same thing can happen inside of your digestive tract, or maybe they travel to your heart and create inflammation in your heart, which we know viruses create a lot of problems with. We know medications create a lot of problems with. So this concoction inside of your blood is what needs to be addressed. And instead of first focusing how we can clean up the blood, let's focus how we can clean up what's going in and how we can repair the defense system. That is the key. So a lot of people will throw probiotics at a problem like this. A lot of people will throw some kind of cleanse at this. A lot of people will throw a specific type of diet at this. And none of those are wrong, but if not done in the right order, you're not repairing the entire system first. And that is called a gut reset. Let me explain what it is. There's 6 steps to a gut reset. This is what I initially took my father through. When done in this proper order, then what your digestive system experiences is the proper healing mechanisms to fix the whole problem instead of just patch a hole. So number 1, we have to reconnect. And what that means is we have to focus on healing. I know you have a diagnosis. I know lupus exists. I know fibromyalgia exists. I know the autoimmune condition exists, but that's not who you are. We let it define us. My dad spent 2 years letting that define him. Everything in his life had the reasoning of why he couldn't go do something or accomplish something or why he felt the way he felt. It was all on his identity of that autoimmune disease. And I had to work mentally to fix his focus, to say, it's what you have right now, but it's not who you are. And the only way out of that condition is to focus on building health. So we must reconnect of where true health and true healing comes from. And that's inside of you. There's just interference that is creating problems. So we're going to go to work on fixing the interference and doing what we can do. Then we went through a removal process. Let's get this stuff out of here. That can be accomplished. Low carbohydrate juicing, 3 days at least, puts your body in autophagy mode. What your body's going to do in autophagy mode. I have other videos on this channel you can check out for that. It's going to start cleaning up those viruses. It's going to start cleaning up those microbes. It's going to start balancing out the health of the gut. It's going to start removing some of the chemicals and heavy metals inside of your system. So we want to go through at least a 3-day removal process, shows the research, and that's really just going to start flushing some of this out. It is going to start cleaning up the blood, but primarily going to be removing the damage that is being created, the antagonists inside the gut. Then we move into a repair mode where these soldiers need to be replenished and this lining needs to be strengthened. Well, there's incredible amino acids like L-glutamine that help to do exactly what I'm showing you right now. So collagen is going to seal up the base, and then L-glutamine is going to repair the mucosal lining. The repair mode should be done for at least 3 days. We use collagen loading where we're getting lots of bone broth, we're getting lots of collagen in to help that base. We're putting in higher doses of L-glutamine to fix the lining of the gut. So a 3-day period of time there, really focused on smoothies and bone broth. So we're removing with juice cleansing, we're repairing with foods that are not anti-inflammatory and that are repairing. Bone broth would be high in collagen, L-glutamine loaded foods in this period of time. Then we move into replace mode. The main focus of the replace mode is we want to start putting foods back in after this 6-day period of time that are going to replenish but not irritate, right? We don't want glutens in there. We don't want carbohydrates in there. We don't want foods, even nightshades or nuts can create irritation in this gut. We want this whole area to continue to repair. So we want to replace with an anti-inflammatory or an antihistamine approach. My Make Food Simple book has an entire food list of this, of the foods that you should avoid, the foods that you can eat, some of them that are in moderation because some people are sensitive to inflammatory things and some aren't. So we want to replace for at least 14 all the way up to 60 days of eating that style that is not irritating the gut. Then we move in to the 4th phase, and that is repopulation. This is my favorite because we are going to rebuild all the little warriors that you can't even see on this picture, teeny tiny little bacteria that are your friends. And these bacteria, which you have more of inside of you than you do cells in your body, are your friends to help defend against invaders, to help keep things balanced, to help absorb nutrients. So that army is called probiotics. They eat prebiotic food and they produce postbiotics. And all three of those are required to repopulate the guts, to build that army that is an ally back into your digestive tract. During this phase, you will also need digestive enzymes. The liver tends to get very bogged down and can't process nor dump bile into your body to break down fats. You need a different enzyme for every food group. Carbohydrates, proteins. You need enzymes to break those foods properly down. So we want to restore enzymes and restore bile salts and bile and the function of our liver right through here. So during your replace mode of eating properly for 14 to 60 days, you put in pre, pro, and postbiotics, as well as digestive enzymes during that period of time. So as you're putting foods in, you're digesting them properly and you're rebuilding the gut. Then it's time to reintroduce. Maybe you're craving that lollipop I drew in right there. Maybe you want some kind of pasta containing gluten. Maybe you want to put nuts back in or eggs back in or dairy back in. Well, this is the time to reintroduce those foods. You can test them individually for you for the type of food that you specifically eat. As opposed to just a blood test, you can really look at reintroducing to see, does it cause irritation to the system again? And then we protect this. This process of a gut reset can be repeated quarterly, multiple times a year to reset the digestive system. I certainly do it. When done in this 6-step process, it will properly restore the harmony and the balance and make a massive, massive difference on autoimmune related conditions because we're going to begin to clean up the blood. Now, there are certainly times we need to go deeper with certain conditions. There is an advanced version of this. If you want to know more about how to instantly lower the inflammation inside of your system and to really go deeper into the subject of restoring and repairing your gut, I put this video right here for you to learn exactly that, along with a training that's going to break this process down. Check it out right here.